All right, AJ, first of all, thank you very much. I think it's our first sit-down we've ever done together in the 10 years, and our first sit-down together at CBS 8. A couple weeks ago, maybe a week ago, the sky was falling. Padres were 2-4. I think Padre fans are packing it up. Season was over. A lot has changed since then. A good road trip, couple walk-offs. How would you assess the beginning, and I've gotten in trouble for using that terminology before, but how would you assess the beginning of this season for the Padres?
Yeah, we schedule these once a decade, so this is our sit-down for the decade. But no, I mean, again, I think the road trip, you start seeing in Boston, like really good series, well-played series by both teams. It's always good when you score some runs and start to get contribution, from all different spots in the lineup. I think that's been a theme so far over the last week or so, is just up and down the lineup. We've gotten some contribution from the bottom part of the lineup. Different guys every night. Sheets last night, Xander the day before that. Some big swings from Campy and from Castellanos. So I think it's a key part of any team is just having some depth and having some fullness to the lineup. I think we expect obviously for Manny and Tatis and Jackson to be big contributors and getting those guys going. And when they do, we think we're gonna have a very good club. So.
You led me right into my next question. I wanted to ask you about that depth. You talk about Castellanos, Andujar, Herman Marquez, Walker Buehler, a great start the other night. How does the depth of this roster compare to maybe years past?
Yeah, I mean, every year is a little bit different. I mean, I think we've tried to round it out. I think it really started a little bit last year at the trade deadline with Laureano and Fermin, and then obviously right before the season started. It's being able to add, Buehler, Marquez. Griffin Canning, who should come up and help us at some point here soon, and then some of the bats that we've added. So I think it creates competition, which is always a good thing. Guys that are hungry to get in the lineup and play. I think part of the first question you asked, I think part of it also is a little bit of a feeling out process as the year goes about roles and playing time, and so it's been nice to see the team progress over the last couple of weeks and guys kind of figuring out what their spot is and guys contributing.
You've always been very honest, always straightforward, which I appreciate. It allows me to be straightforward in my job. There was a lot of outside noise when Craig Stammen was hired. I heard the word puppet thrown around all the time. Hey, the Padres hire him. He's a puppet for the organization. He's a puppet for A.J. Preller. Without leading the witness, how would you assess Craig Stammen's start to his managerial career? And are you the great ventriloquist that everybody thinks that you are?
I mean, anybody that knows Craig knows he's his own person, and that's a big reason why we wanted him here. We give a lot of autonomy to our managers. We always have. We try to give them as many resources as possible. I think, probably the biggest thing I've seen is just the development of his staff. I mean, and that's a big part, and that's going to serve us well throughout the year. Getting on the plane, the road trips, the conversations. The group's constantly talking baseball. They have a ton of respect for him, and he's got them on the same page, and I think that's going to play out for us very well. I think one of the other nice things with Craig, and I think he says it every night, is that if something doesn't quite go our way or his way, he's the first person to say, yeah, maybe I could have done this a little different or better, and I think that's going to serve him very well. That's what any good leader does, is self-reflect and self-assess and then make some adjustments. So I think he's a better manager now today than he was 2 weeks ago. He's going to be a better manager in June than he's going to be in May, and he's a very dynamic leader and a great person, and I think the clubhouse feels that.
It's no surprise that this team is up for sale, likely be a new owner in here maybe by the end of the month. What would you like to see in that new owner, and what would you hope your relationship is with that new owner or ownership group?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that I think all Padre fans and Friar faithful and myself, it's just like, the group that just loves the game of baseball, loves the city of San Diego, and wants to bring a winner here. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But, I think the biggest thing, Peter Seidler, Ron Fowler, that group, they love baseball. It's the reason why I came here and wanted to be here. And you see it with the fan base. So I think when you have that synergy and that back and forth from an organization, and then have an owner that's the leader that just truly loves the game of baseball. I think all the groups are going to have tremendous resources, but the groups that love the game, I think that usually, again, it ends up putting you in the right place in the right spot, and gets the whole organization in the right on the right setting. So I think that's we're looking forward to it. It's been a few years here now where have some clarity and have some closure, and have a new voice here soon, and a new ownership group. We're excited about it.
When you think about the future of this organization, where do you see? You guys have a lot of players on big contracts, some of them later in their years. You have a farm system that technically ranks in the bottom right now. Is there any concern for kind of the future of the organization based on how it's currently constructed?
No, I mean, I think we've been hearing now about sustainability for about 6 years or so. So I think, it's always a challenge for any organization, like no matter, whatever stage you feel like you're at. I think, again, I think for us, you have, when you look at players like Tatis at 27 years old, and, it should be the prime of his career. Jackson Merrill just getting into, hopefully the prime of his career and into his most productive seasons. It's a good place to start, and again, I think for us, it's having that core foundation of players that you have year in, year out, and then you've got to hit the draft and the international, and you've got to find some players every single year that can come up and supplement that group. So we have a great, our scouting and player development group, I feel like is as good as anybody in the game. We've produced as many players as anybody in the game, and I don't think that's going to change. So I think for us, it's I think just getting that clarity from an ownership team is always important, because then you can look at a 1, 3, 5 year plan. And again, like we've seen it over the years, there's been the consistency of having prospects and players year in, year out, and we feel like we have that right now, where that enables us some ability to make some moves and do different things, or let that group develop and play in the big league level. We feel good about where we're at for sure.
For the fans, who are maybe some of those prospects that you have your eye on that maybe isn't a Cruz Schoolcraft or an Ethan Salas, that you're going, hey, look out for this kid coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, again, Miguel Mendez, who we saw in spring training for a tick, has probably about as good an arm from an arm speed to arm talent standpoint as anybody in the minor leagues right now. I think to me, like signing Taiwanese pitcher Sue, that, ultimately was kind of the talk of our spring training. And every year, there's new blood that comes into the system, new players that come into the system. And that Elsinore team that we have, that Lake Elsinore group, and Ty Harvey on that team, who was in last year's draft, looks like he's going to be a good player. So, it's not just one player. I think a lot of times people will focus on, like you mentioned, whether it's Cruz Schoolcraft or Ethan Salas. It's that depth of the farm system. We've consistently been a top-ranked system, over the last 10-plus years or so, and consistently produced players. We have players in our system, and we know by the middle of the season we're going to have players other teams are going to want, players that we feel really good about. But we've got to build it. Like the last couple of trade deadlines, and we've tapped into that system a little bit. So I think from a position player standpoint, we know we've got some work to do. So we're excited about some of the guys in the group. But we got some more work to do here over the course of the next few months and year.
I don't know if you remember this, but it's seared into my brain. You and I were out in Chicago, Wrigley Field. Season had just come to an end. We were out doing some live shots in an empty Wrigley Field, and I walked down to the bottom by the dugout, and there's one person out on the field at Wrigley, and it was you on your phone. And I don't know if you were working, what you were doing, but the fact that you were kind of grinding away, and then you walked over to the dugout, and you looked up to me and said, we're going to get one here soon. I know we're going to get one here soon. What is it about that passion, that grind that just never stops for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's throughout the whole organization. So it's, it's easy to have that when, everybody in the organization, we have so many people that, they're just, if you're going to be good at anything, you have to be super passionate about it. Now, we talk about it with players, we talk about it with staff members. It can't be a chore to come to the ballpark or get on the field and practice and work. And, I think for myself, it's just a way of life. It's just a lot of fun, to tell you. We work in baseball. You cover baseball for a living. It's cool, and it's you could be doing a lot of different things. So I think for us, it starts with that. And I remember that obviously you lose those playoff series and the end comes pretty quickly. And, the last few years you're expecting to go to the World Series. But you come back to Petco and you see this ballpark and the fan base, and you walk around San Diego and the people are so passionate about winning, something for the first time here. And that's the reason why I came here. Ultimately, that's the reason why we have a lot of people in the organization that's super passionate about, giving back and hopefully, having that feeling that we all have had at different moments here in San Diego. That time in San Diego was in Chicago was one of the rougher moments, when you lose a tough playoff series and don't get it done. But you start fresh this year. We have a good team again, and it's all about the big stage. From day one I got here, it was like that big stage is not sneaking into a wild card round. That big stage is playing in the World Series. That's what motivates us every day.
You remember who you were on the phone with?
I do actually. Yeah, one of our scouts, Keith Beck. So
you were working.
We were sitting there talking about all the things that we could have done better, and that series like anybody does. So yeah, and then realizing starts tomorrow. Let's get it going. So
it never stops. I know you love talking about yourself, so I'm gonna ask you one question about yourself. incredible hooper. I got to know what type of player you are because I haven't gotten to watch you play. Are you like an outside facilitator? You throw elbows, you get down in the paint? What kind of player is AJ?
I want to say post player, but no. I enjoy to play, so I think I can try to get others involved, handle the basketball, make some shots. So it's I think it's always a good day when I stay healthy. That's the key these days. So it's all kinds of injuries lately, but I still like it and still enjoy it.
Last one, walk-off grand slam last night, walk-off 3-run homer. Well, I got it wrong. Walk-off grand slam Thursday night, walk-off 3-run homer last night. Who hits the walk-off 2-run homer tonight?
Hey, we did the 4-0 with the Slam Diego. If we can, hopefully we start one of these. I don't care as long as somebody does it, and we get to we get to that win column. That's good for me.
Let's not make it a decade again. Thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it, AJ.